Castlevania.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. If you're a kid who grew up in the late 80s,
Don't look at me, man, I'm not that old.
then you would remember of a little mistake by the name of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. This 1993 film was one of the first video game adaptations to the big screen, and it really paved a way for video games to shine on the movie screen in terms of filmographical prowess. Is what I would say if I was part of an alien species that had never heard of video games and or movies in my entire goddamn life. Did I say little mistake earlier? I meant big mistake. A big fat fucking mistakerino, neighborino. Goose egg out of 10 on that test, little Timmy. If you guys have never seen this movie, then I actually recommend you go and check it out just to see how bad movies could possibly have been back then. Because this movie was so bad that actors Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, who played Mario and Luigi respectively, have both stated in multiple interviews that this movie was one of the biggest mistakes and regrets in their entire acting career. And if you watch their performance in that movie, I don't fucking blame them. Ever since then, it's safe to say that video game to film adaptations, or I guess video games to screen adaptations, haven't exactly had the greatest track record in terms of quality or success. But it seems that finally, somebody has managed to create a video game adaptation to screen that is not only good, not only great, but fucking awesome! If you've seen the thumbnail and title, you probably already know what it is, but I'm of course talking about the Netflix original Castlevania anime series. Now look, before I even begin talking about this, I know already there are a bunch of you guys down in the comments who are typing away something like, "Joey, how dare you call Castlevania an anime? It's made by a Western production, so it's not technically an anime, it's a cartoon, you hypocritical plebeian cunt." Listen, I don't have time for your sass. You guys are the same motherfuckers who flip their shit when somebody says that Avatar: The Last Airbender is an anime. Which it isn't. So I think it's safe to say that Castlevania also fits into that particular genre, and I think it's okay to call it an anime. And don't worry, I am fully aware that it is made by a Western production, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this particular Western production in terms of animation and anime style quality is just as good, if not better, than most anime of this season and in fact most of this year. Like, let's just say I failed No Nut November pretty goddamn hard after I finished watching this. I was like, oh, Netflix senpai! I didn't jack off to the show, I swear. But it was definitely hard to resist. I'm not weird, stop looking at me like that. So for those of you who don't know, Netflix's Castlevania is an adaptation, or I guess a reimagining of the original Castlevania game franchises created by Konami. More specifically, it follows the lore and characters of the third game in the franchise, Castlevania 3: Dracula's Curse. Which, funnily enough, even though I'm a massive Castlevania fan, is probably the only Castlevania game that I haven't actually finished from start to end. Just kidding, I haven't finished any Castlevania game. Those games are harder than my dick during No Nut November. The basic premise follows Dracula, who after wifing a human female wanting to be an awesome doctor to save all of humanity, who is then burnt to the stake by the church for being a witch or wizard or dark magician girl or whatever, goes berserker mode and aims to commit genocide on the entire human race as revenge. A real ladies' man, that one is. Meanwhile, you have this guy, Treavor Belmont, who is the only remaining lineage of the Belmont family known for being vampire slayers, who after wandering into a town to save some townsfolk from a barrage of hideous monsters that will make any dark fantasy fan proud, stumbles upon the tomb of Alucard, the son of Dracula. After a few fights, they both agree to work together to fight Dracula to stop the world and humanity from falling apart. With the help of the wandering magician Cypher, who owes Treavor for saving her life from a random cyclops that was just chilling in an underground tomb, the three head towards Dracula's castle to stop the genocide of humanity once and for all. Now, just hearing that premise, it sounds like your typical standard run-of-the-mill dark fantasy show, right? Bad guy appears who wants to destroy a bunch of shit, a bunch of heroes appear with a hold my beer fan mentality, and then a bunch of awesome and gory fighting ensues. But what makes Castlevania, and in fact a lot of great dark fantasy stories, well, great, is the way that the characters are built up over time. Because I think that's one of the biggest advantages that dark fantasy stories have over other genre stories, and is one of the biggest reasons why I absolutely love the dark fantasy genre in my manga and anime. It's one of the reasons why manga series like Claymore and Berserk are up there as, in my opinion, one of the greatest stories ever told in manga. Not only are the main characters built up over the course of the 12 episodes the Castlevania anime runs for, but the villains, and especially especially the villains, are so fucking well developed. Like, honestly, I was actually super invested in the villains and the different backstabbings, plottings, and schemings they were doing behind the scenes, more so than the actual heroes of the story. These developments and relationships especially bloom during the second season, or the latter 8 episodes, as we're not only introduced to a number of multi-layered personalities, each with interesting and deep backstories, but we also get to see a huge personality shift in Dracula himself. Yes, ironically enough, Dracula, the Dark Lord of the vampires himself, the one individual who's probably the furthest away from being human in this entire series, actually shows the most humane and fragile personality changes in the entire show. The way that this character goes from being this relentless, cold-hearted, OP monster of humanity to just being a tired, sad, and confused old man who is just sick of it all is honestly really inspiring, which I think is a very interesting turn they decided to take in an otherwise standard run-of-the-mill narrative that the series is based off of. One aspect about a lot of anime that a lot of people who watch anime series tend to miss and not appreciate enough, but especially holds true in the case with this Castlevania anime, is the music and sound editing. Just the mixing and the aesthetic tones and drones you hear in the music and in the sound effects and in the ambient noise in the background of the entire show is just so enthralling. The soundtrack remains dark and deep, yet subtle and quiet to really portray this feeling of loneliness, doom, and destruction. And the sound effects, especially during some of the fight scenes, are so guttural and impactful. Like every punch, every hit, every stab, slice, throw, and splatter are so rich in texture to the point where you can almost feel it. Like you're just getting walloped by this sheer wall of sound straight to the fucking groin. Ouch. It not only makes you feel the impact of every hit, but it also makes you feel the impact of the moment. Like you feel the seriousness and the impeding doom that lurks within every single moment, like you're watching it in some kind of cinema in the front row. Because even though Castlevania is technically a 12-episode TV series, the audible richness that it has and the flow of narrative almost gives Castlevania this cinematic experience. Like you went to go see a movie, went into the wrong theater, and just happened to stumble upon this 6-hour-long director's cut of a fucking DB Weiss film. And by the way, can we just talk about the voice acting in this show? As many of you who have been on this channel know, and if you've seen my videos and you know me personally, then you would know I'm not exactly the biggest fan when it comes to English dubbing and a lot of English voice acting in different animations. Of course, in the case with anime, there are definitely exceptions to that rule. Some anime have some absolutely fantastic English dubs. But the voice acting for Castlevania was surprisingly really fucking good. Each voice actor gives their respective characters this rich feeling of personality, to the point where you can very easily distinguish characters just by listening to their voices. Of course, like every English dub, it has its awkward moments from time to time, but overall, the diverse cast of accents thrown into this anime worked really well to bring me into the story and world of Castlevania. And the choreography of some of these fight scenes, like, oh my god. Even though the animation can be a little bit janky at times, the choreography of some of these fights, the way that they move, the way that they flow, is like watching some fucking contemporary dance movement. Like Michael Jackson would be proud. From start to finish, just these consistent, high quality movements, and the way the heroes kill off enemies are always done in new, refreshing, and highly entertaining ways. And watching every single fight scene was fucking exciting. Like, oh shit! Your boy just did that to him. Honestly, I'm trying to find something in this anime that I can say something negatively about or something that needs improving, but I'm having actually quite a hard time trying to think of something that can be criticized heavily on. I would say maybe the one complaint that I would have probably has to do mostly with the final episode of the show. It was kind of anticlimactic, considering the episode before was basically the final climactic fight between the heroes and Dracula. So I felt it was strange to dedicate an entire episode to the aftermath of the whole situation. But then, as you watch the aftermath, you quickly realize it's more like the beginning to the end, as the series basically sets itself up for a continuation, or at least leave it on some kind of open ending for a possible season 3, which I will welcome with open arms, like my dog who has left my home for 10 years and have just come back. I'm like, come into my arms, baby. Look, am I saying Castlevania is a masterpiece? Yes, actually, yes, it is. And I feel that there are just way too many people who are unaware that this show even exists, or just and not realize how great this show is. So I basically wanted to make this video to kind of give the show a little bit of spotlight. I mean, this show is just another brilliant example to show that Netflix is fucking killing it in 2018 in terms of anime. I mean, we started off with Devilman Crybaby, which I made an entire video on already, links in the description. And then we had Agretzko, which was an incredibly funny, incredibly charming and cute show about an otherwise very serious and dark topic surrounding adult life and the working environments of Japan. And now we have this, we have Castlevania, which just adds the cherry on top of the beautiful Netflix cake for all of us to dig our faces into. So yeah, I'm not saying that Netflix is gonna take over the anime sphere in 2019 or whatever, but they're certainly showing some good signs of them at least getting one step closer to that with these fucking high quality anime right here. And they're basically able to provide us with a bunch of great shows with great quality that not many other contenders of the same type of multimedia movement have been able to give us in these past couple of years. But yeah, all I'm gonna say is go watch Castlevania. It's on Netflix. The entire series is finished. It's only 12 episodes. Go watch it so I don't sound like a fucking lunatic who is just loving this show way too much. But guys, let me know what you think about Castlevania if you have seen it down in the comments below. Did you think it was a masterpiece, or did you have some problems with it that don't make you quite feel like saying that M word to the show? And also, which Netflix original anime do you enjoy the most? If it's not Castlevania, then is it any of the other shows that I mentioned? I'm really interested to know all that kind of stuff, so make sure to let me know all that kind of stuff in the comments below. Also, a special thank you to my lovely, lovely patrons for this month: Ian Gardiner, Nightshade, Stefan Seiniger, Instagatrix, Bogdan Aksenenko, Crescentia, Iochi, Chris Turanek, Steve Lamb, and everybody else on my Patreon who supports me every single month. The script to this video will be available for all of you $5 patrons out there, and I've offered a bunch of other awesome rewards, so if you haven't checked that out, then go over to my Patreon at patreon.com/theanimeman, or links in the description if you want to check it out. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. As always, like and favorite if you enjoyed, subscribe for my banner, and I'll see you guys next video of whatever I make. Keep watching anime. Ciao!